Welcome to the Explainer.
You know, software is basically intangible. You can't just perform a visual check on it. But here's the thing. Faulty software can cost a ton of time, money, and sometimes even endanger lives. So how do we find those hidden bugs? Well, it turns out there are two fundamentally different mindsets for investigating software.
Right? You can test it from the outside, like a user would, or you can test it from the inside, like the engineer who actually built it. Okay, let's dive into this a little. My approach is all about that user's perspective, focusing on functionality. We call it black box testing.
Think of the software as a completely opaque box. You don't know, and you don't even care what's happening inside. You just care that if you put a specific input in, you get the correct output out.
Honestly, it's the most practical way to confirm the software meets what users actually need.
Now, what's really cool about this slide is how it shows black box testing in action on a real-world case study, the VSR2 car configurator. We're testing if selecting 5 extras correctly applies a discount, and we do that without ever looking at the code that calculates it. That's a great start for sure. But what if the discount code works for 5 extras, but it's totally broken for 6? Or what if there's some redundant, buggy code a user might never even trigger? You're really only seeing the surface. To find those deeper flaws, you've got to look under the hood. And that brings us to my approach, white box testing.
With white box testing, the software is a transparent box. We're looking directly at the wiring, the logic, the code itself to make sure every single path works as intended.
This lets us find problems that a user might never, ever stumble upon, but could cause some pretty major issues down the line.
So here's the crucial point. A black box test checks if the discount is applied, but a white box test ensures that both paths of this if statement, the discount path and the standard price path, are executed and verified. This is called decision coverage. Okay, I see your point. You can definitely catch structural issues I might miss, but your test can't tell you if the developer completely forgot to implement a required feature in the first place.
Exactly. And this brilliantly illustrates that they aren't really competing methods at all. They're actually designed for different stages of the development lifecycle. Let's see how this builds. White box testing is perfect early on at the component level, just to ensure the building blocks are solid, right? And then black box testing becomes critical later on for system and acceptance testing to make sure the complete product actually delivers what the customer asked for.
And ultimately, the user's experience and the software's functionality are what matter most, which is exactly why you can never skip the black box approach.
So the real takeaway is that for truly robust, high-quality software, you need both perspectives. It's not a choice. You need the mechanic and the test driver.
One looks at the what, and the other at the how. Together, they give you the complete picture of quality. So, when you use your next app, will you think like a user or an engineer?